Have you ever wondered what it takes to get from this to this? Well, look no further. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you all the different finger tricks that speedcubers use to get as fast as they are. This video is going to be split into 6 different chapters, each of which focuses on a different aspect of finger tricks and their benefits. So let's get right into it. So hopefully by the end of this video, you should be comfortable with all of these finger tricks and try and incorporate them more and more into your solves. So the first important concept that I want to cover is the home grip. What is the home grip, you might ask? Well, it's a very simple concept that basically says anytime you finish an algorithm or anytime you're just holding the cube without doing any moves, you should be holding it in a certain orientation that is relatively fixed. Now, I won't say it's fixed every single time, but in general, it is how it works. So for example, if I'm right-handed, most of my moves are going to be RUF moves, which are very right hand dominant, as you can see. The left hand is just mainly holding the cube with the left index finger making a few moves. So this is called home grip. And for a right-handed person, home grip would be a thumb diagonally across the front 2x2, the front left down 2x2, this thing. And the ring and the middle finger are on the back left down 2x2. And you can see how the ring goes here and the middle here. So this is the very effective home grip. Now, these fingers don't have to stick out, like you're not Spider-Man, so you can just keep them close to the cube as well. I just put my pinky on the bottom and my index on top for the U layer. And that's going to come in handy in chapter 2, but let's wait till we get there. So any variety of different moves that you do, try and return to this grip after you finish it. And that will help you make sure you're on the right track for any algorithm that you might encounter. Another thing is if you're left-handed and have LU dominant moves, then you want to mirror this with your right thumb here, your right ring and middle fingers at the back, and index on the top and pinky just hovering on the bottom layer, same as left. So yeah, let's go to chapter 2 now. The next big concept for finger tricks is simple finger tricks. So simple finger tricks are finger tricks that involve any one rotation in any one direction. So you should know notation, and if you don't know notation, I'll just link a video up here where I explain Rubik's Cube notation. For example, a simple finger trick is something like U. So U is this move without a finger trick, but with a finger trick, with home grip, notice how I'm always enforcing my home grip. With a finger trick, the most common move for U is to hit it from the back with your index finger, like this. So you should just practice that and get good at it, to the point where you can just do it on every single hit of the back layer. And then U prime is the same thing with your left index. And this is true for both lefties and righties, there's no difference here. So that's U and U prime. So getting used to that will take a while if you're just a beginner, but this is maybe the easiest finger trick to get used to because it's just a simple push. There's nothing else to it. Naturally, the right and left layers don't really have any finger tricks because they're just, entire hand motions. But the D layer does have finger tricks. So for a D, it's this move. And you want to do that with your left ring finger, which is on the bottom of the cube. And you want to push, just like you push the index, you want to push with the ring finger. And that's a D. And the D prime is the same thing with the right ring finger. So you can try getting used to that. So yeah, pretty straightforward for D and D prime. Next is F and F prime, maybe the coolest of all because it can be done in many different ways. So F could be this index push. So the home grip stays the same, except now you bring this right index up here to push it down. That's an F. So it's the same as U, except I'm pushing with this piece and not on this piece, obviously, because I need it in the F layer. This is one way. Another way is something called the pinch grip, which I've seen famous speedcubers like Timon Koloshinsky use this grip, where they do this F. And I use this as well quite a lot because I think it's just cleaner to transition into other moves more effectively. But that's fully up to personal preference, of course. So yeah, the pinch F is another way to do it. And an F prime, you might think is this, but notice how this deviates from home grip and you don't want that. Of course, you want to mirror these for if you're a lefty, but yeah, you don't want to deviate from the home grip. So the F prime would be with your thumb on the bottom piece, you do this. That's an F prime. So, I just showed another example of a way to do F with your thumb, but that's just up to you. It's an acquired taste kind of thing. So yeah, F prime goes like that. Another way to do F prime is to pull with this index, but notice that does destroy a little bit of your home grip because you need to pull your index back from where it was. And that's something you might get used to eventually. So yeah, that's F and F prime. And then there's B and B prime, which people do in many different ways. You can push with the left index like that. or you can push with the right index like that. So very simply, you're holding the cube like this and just doing that. It's the same as the push for you, except you do an X prime on the cube and do that. And then B prime is the same thing with the left hand, or you can push with your right hand. So those are the two ways to do B and B prime. Now that we're done with the outer layer turns, we have the inner layer turns. So M prime, which is M. So for M, you use your ring finger and you pull down from the front down piece. And for M prime, you use the same ring finger and push with the back down piece, that. So M and M prime. And then there's E and E prime, which is the equator layer. So E, I use my middle finger to push and my middle finger to push. So it's two pushes, but E is a push and so is E prime. Of course, the middle layer finger tricks are not that important if you're just a beginner, but it's useful to know. And then there's S and S prime, which is the slice layer. So S, I push or pull with the index in this case, you're pulling downward. And S prime is a push with the index, or you can pull with your left index. That's S prime. Now let's get into the next chapter, which is double moves. So double finger tricks are very important when you're getting faster and faster with your algorithms, because they get more and more ingrained into your muscle memory. So you need to be able to do double moves without doing, for example, if I take U2, I don't want to do this every single time, because that might slow me down when I'm doing simple algorithms. Instead, you want to get used to using both of these fingers for a U2. In this case, if I'm doing a U2, I would use push, so same index push, except you add your middle behind it, and you push twice. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, like that. And you want to get used to that to the point where you can do it with both hands. So with the left, it's, oh, I messed up there. With the left, it's the same. It's index, middle. So you should be able to do that with both hands pretty comfortably. And that's U2 and U2 prime effectively. Then comes D2, which is the same logic. You want to be able to push with both your pinky and your ring instead of index and middle. So normally for a D, you do with the ring, but here you go pinky ring for D2. And this is more useful when you're doing things like the A permutation, which is a PLL. It just helps you speed that up, because you can now do D2 with effectively one motion instead of this, you're doing this. And the same thing with D2 prime, but this is not as important unless you're a righty, unless you're a lefty, because you wouldn't have to do this. A D2 and a D2 prime, like anything 2 and anything 2 prime on a Rubik's Cube are equivalent. So yeah, it doesn't matter whichever one you do it with. And then it's the same thing with F2. For U2, you did index middle for this push. F2 is the same, but on this push. So notice for the F layer, my right hand grip changes, but my home grip always stays the same. Nothing changes about my home grip. So yeah, this is F2, U2, F2. And then B2 is the same push, except you kind of let go of your back grip for this, because you want the back layer to move. If you hold on to it, it might be hard to move it, obviously. And then you have M2, which is the middle layer twice. Here, you want to do ring middle for righty and lefty both. Although for lefty, sometimes I prefer pinky ring. Do I? No, I do not. I was just lying. My bad. But yeah, I just use my right hand for M2 flicks because, I don't know, it's just quicker for me. So I just use ring pinky like this. So that's how I do M2. And then E2 is just the same push as a U2, except you hold the U layer in place. Like you can see the tension I'm applying on the U layer here to kind of separate the layers like that, and then do the E2. And then S2 is a very rare thing. I don't think there's any algs I know that use an S2 even in 3-style, but I would probably just do it like I would do an F2 and hold the front and back layers in place. And that summarizes all of the double finger tricks. It's the same with R2 and L2, like you just have the whole hand motion. So that's not a big deal. Now let's get into chapter 4, which is compound finger tricks. Compound finger tricks are finger tricks that involve more than one move, but they're very important to making that more than one move sequence count. So for example, if I'm doing a sequence, let's say I'm doing RU. For R, I do this, and then for U, I push like this. So combining those two makes a compound finger trick where my hand is now like this. But something like R prime U now requires me to have a different finger trick, because if I do R prime like this, I can no longer push with my index without changing my grip. So what a lot of people do is do R prime holding it like this, so that when you do a U, your finger is now ready in position to make the same push that we discussed in chapter 2. The other way you can do this is you can do R prime and push U like this. So push U is a little less common, and it's more used when you have algorithms that need your right index to be, freer. For example, if I'm doing R prime U F, which is a very rare sequence, but just in case I'm doing that, because if I do R prime U like this, now F is hard to like re-grip into that. So I can just do that. But that's an example of a compound finger trick. If I ever have to do R prime U F or R U prime F prime or something like that, I will need different finger tricks, or F U F U R prime is a great example. So F in this case, if I do this, the U has to be a push. So I might just use my thumb so that the U can just be an index push and then bring it down. Another example of a compound finger trick is probably something like R prime, D prime, R, which you might use from time to time. So the D prime is normally a ring push with the right hand, but I also said you can do a ring push with the left hand. So that comes into use when you're doing things like R prime, because when you do R prime, your ring is on the top layer. If you do it from here, then you could do it, but then you can't always change your grip to this. So when you're doing R prime, D prime, it's way more efficient to do R prime with your hand and then push D prime with the left. So of course you can mirror this to the other hand as well, to your left hand and pushing with the right. But yeah, that's the point. R prime D R and R prime D prime R both use your left hand to do the D. So the most important takeaway from compound finger tricks is that the hand that's making the second move almost always has to be free when the first one's being made. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but even here on the push, my left hand wasn't doing anything for the first move. Basically, the subsequent move should not depend on the previous move in terms of what you're using to make it. And that applies to even the B layer. So if I'm doing R, B prime, I can't change my home grip every time to do R like this and B prime like that. So I might just do R and B prime push. So notice how that's so much quicker than that. It's just quicker to do that. So R and then B prime, because my index is already down there. When you do an R, your index goes down. When you do an R prime, if you do it from here, then your index comes back to where it was. And this is how you figure out compound finger tricks. The best way I would recommend training yourself for compound finger tricks is learning algorithms. And I would recommend just learning, OLL algs, PLL algs, and things like that, so you can get better at them. Okay, chapter 5 of finger tricks is wide moves. Now, wide moves are used very, very often in professional speedcubing, not just in algorithms, but also sometimes in solving F2L pairs. So when you're doing wide moves, you need to be able to move both layers at once. And the way I do that is I kind of group these three fingers. So these three fingers. I kind of group them into making the whole move. It's not exactly a finger trick, but it transitions well into other finger tricks. For example, if I'm doing R wide U, which is a compound move, I would do this, or this, right? But I can do this, but then it gets hard to do the next U. For example, if I'm doing a fat tune, which solves this OLL case, I can do this, and now for R prime, I'll have to regrip. So another way to do it is to group all three fingers, do this, push, this, pull. So something like that for the wide moves. Then there's L wide and L wide prime. It's the same exact logic. So if you're doing, let's say a left fat tune, I would push and then do that. Same thing as this. Okay. And then there's the wide F and wide B moves are very rare. Can I even think of an application? Wait, maybe I can, right? Something like this OLL algorithm uses a wide F prime move. So it's S, R U, R prime, U prime, R prime, F, R, and then wide F prime. So that uses a wide F prime finger trick. So I do this for wide F and this for wide F prime. It's the exact same as S and S prime, but you let your thumbs kind of relieve the pressure, so you can do F and F prime, wide F and wide F prime. And finally, the most important one is wide D and wide D prime. So you might see this used more often in the cross, or even in F2L. So let me just give you an example here. So if I'm doing something like this, and let's just say I want this pair to appear in front here. So what I might end up doing, instead of a D2, I might do a wide U2 that helps this pair now appear here. So I can just do that and insert it in the wrong slot. I meant in that slot. But here is another example. So if I'm inserting this pair in the back, I can just do wide F, R prime, wide F prime. So in that I can do instead of going here and doing R U prime, R prime. So that's the cool part about that. Another case is where something like this, for example. So I have this pair here and I want this to go here. So I want to rotate the cube and do this, but I can just do that with one move with a wide D. So that's an application of doing F2L, but with a wide move. So you can just do that. So wide D, I would just push with the middle. Wide D prime, I'd push with this middle. It's just something like this. So, and it just works well with that pair. So that's an example of all the wide moves. Now comes chapter 6 and the final chapter, which is maybe not the most important, but it's a very important part of speedcubing, which is what I would like to call algorithm continuity. So algorithm continuity is basically the idea that you try and do every algorithm on the cube regripless. Regripless is basically a term that's used to say, I don't want to change my grip during an algorithm. For example, if I'm doing a T-perm on PLL, This is a T-perm, for those of you that don't know. Swaps these two edges and these two corners. I want to do this algorithm without regripping the cube. Without Fingertricks, this would be impossible because each and every move is a regrip. And with the wrong Fingertricks, you might find yourself in a position like this where you have to regrip to do something and then a regrip again to do a last thing. So that was 2 regrips. But if you use the right Fingertricks, you can do this regripless. And here's an example of that. So the algorithm is RU, R prime, U prime, R prime, F, R2, U prime, R prime, U prime, RU, R prime, F prime. In this case, I would take the corner and I would hold onto it with a pinch. And this pinch grip is really useful for a lot of regripless algorithms. I would hold it with a pinch, go R, U. And this helps because now for R prime, my hand's already in this position. Notice that. R prime, U prime. And then for R prime, F, I can get my index here preparing for the F push, R2, U prime, this index is right here, R prime, U prime, R, U. The U is a push because my index is down here. If I had to get it here, it would be kind of uncomfortable or I would have to regrip and I didn't want to. So U, R prime, F prime. So that's just an example of a regripless algorithm. And the benefit of being regripless is that you don't waste time in changing your home grip or changing anything about the cube except the cube state itself. And that's always the final goal, which is to try and have as few regrips as you can and as few rotations as you can. This will optimize your solve to the extent where you will find yourself just speeding up in general. So I think those 6 chapters pretty much cover every single finger trick that a speedcuber would use. And I will say the chapter Compound Finger Tricks, which was chapter 4, isn't fully comprehensive because a lot of those finger tricks are based on the last chapter, which is algorithm continuity. So what you want to do is train yourself to do algorithms and try your best to not regrip. For example, if you're doing a Sewn, try not to have that one regrip. So I'm doing the Sewn here. If I do this, that's fine, but that's a bit uncomfortable. So again, I use a pinch grip for the Sewn. R, U, R prime, U, R, U2, R prime. And the U2 has a double flick. So the U was a pinch pull. R prime, the next U was a middle flick because my index is already here. And then R and this U2 was a double flick with the left hand because remember, your hand has to be free when you're making that particular move, for which it has to be free for the previous move. That's why every subsequent move must not use the hand that was used in the previous move. Or I wouldn't say hand, but I should say fingers. That maybe is the most basic rule for all of this stuff. But yeah, I hope this video was helpful. Do let me know if you have any questions at all. And if you have any algorithms that you'd like me to execute regripless, because at the end of the day, that's the key to getting your finger tricks on point, is to try and reduce as many regrips as you can throughout your solve. Yeah, that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please share it if you found it helpful. Please leave a like and I'll see you in the next one. Let me know what you want to see next. Take care and peace.